You know what the problem is with wars like this or situations like this? The problem with situations like this is that there's so many headlines and there's so much going on Twitter that you actually have no idea what the truth is and what is not the truth and what people are trying to hook you with. And I mean, I basically, in situations like this, I like to look at the charts. And when I look at the oil price is at $89. And that's a long way down from where the oil price was yesterday, which is one good sign. I guess another very good sign is that Bitcoin is now above $71,000. Now, the big question is, will Bitcoin be able to hold this? I'm going to call it a rally. It's not really a rally, but let's call it the strength, the support. Will Bitcoin actually be able to hold the strength, the support? I want to look at the data today. And spoiler alert, I'm going to show you the data for, and I'm going to show you the data against. And I'm going to show you which side I'm actually sitting on. I'm going to show you that right at the end. But I think this data will actually blow your mind because it's very, very, very similar to something that we've seen before. So yeah, let me show you the data. Let me show you what I believe in. Let's make sense of the war headlines and what's actually going on in the wars. Let's get going, guys. There you go. So, it's funny that a lot of people still don't know that the times have changed. And a lot of people are asking, why are we here so early? Why are we here so early? Why are we here so early? We're not here early. We're only early if you are in South Africa or if you're in any country that's not in the United States. And the reason is we always come to you at 9:15 or 9:30 a.m. EST when the US markets open. And the US has changed from daylight saving time. So we're always going to be, if you're not in the US, we're going to be 1 hour earlier for you, which is why we are here where we are. So if you're catching the replay because you missed the live, now you know exactly why that's happening. On that note, guys, because I'm here earlier, not earlier, but earlier, then the algorithm doesn't know that I'm here earlier. Please do me a favor, smash a like button. It really helps us get distribution and get all our fellow friends back. We lost a lot of friends in the crypto, let's call it the crypto winter, the crypto meltdown. Took away a lot of our friends. You guys are still here. Let's see if we can get the other guys to come back. Let's talk about wars in general, or in fact, any high volatility situation, whether it's a war, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's anything else. I think that this narrative or this feature actually makes a lot of sense. Don't try and make sense of the market based on the daily news events. 2 years ago, it was Jane Street, then it was ISMs. Narratives actually follow price. And that's exactly what it is, specifically in a time of war. When you're looking at a situation where you're in a time of war, there's so many headlines, and particularly the war that we're fighting at the moment, the war that's going on at the moment. So what's going on with the war at the moment? Remember that we are fighting a war of West versus Iran, right? And the problem is that Iran's a country where communications are limited, internet's limited, and they're not getting as much exposure on the Western channels as the United States is getting, right? When you look at the headlines and everything, the whole narrative is pretty much being driven by the United States. The problem with that is that it can skew your reality of what's actually going on. If you want to know what's actually going on, you need to go to a place where people put their money where their mouth is. Right now, I know two places where people put their money where their mouth is. The first one is obviously the charts, right? So you look at the charts. The charts are telling you that today seems better than yesterday because you can see that the oil price is much lower than it was yesterday. Actually, funny enough, if you look at the charts yesterday, the oil price the range of the oil price in one day was 47%. Can you believe it? The oil had 40% volatility in one day here. Can you see 40% volatility here in one day? Which is crazy, and I'll tell you why it's crazy. Trump is the first president ever to have oil go to 0 and to 100 while he was in office. Now, I know a lot of you are saying, well, how is it that oil can actually go to 0? So actually oil can go to 0. Actually, it can go below 0. And I know this because during COVID, I was actually long oil, right? So I bought oil and the oil price started to come down and started to come down and started to come down. I wonder actually if you can see it on the chart. Let's actually look at it. And actually oil went during COVID. It went below 0. No jokes. It actually went, you can see it went to -$1. So let me show you that. And the reason is because with oil futures, you actually have to deliver the barrel. And so oil actually went negative, and I'll never forget because they actually liquidated my account on one of the big brokers. Why? Because oil went below 0. I was safe. I wasn't even leveraged. But because oil went negative, I lost a whole lot of money that initially I didn't have in the account. And then they went and liquidated my account. And so Trump, under his presidency, you can say is the only president where oil during his reign as president has gone under 0 and above 100 whilst he's actually in office. So where do I get my information from? I either get it from this chart or I get it from Polymarket. And Polymarket and the chart are pretty much telling me the same thing that they told me yesterday about the war, right? They're telling me that the highest probability, that the most reasonable probability is around April 30th for this war to be ending. In the meantime, what you've got Trump trying to pump the oil markets and trying to calm the market and make this narrative that the US is in control of the war, that it's almost over. And we all know why he's doing it. He's doing it because he wants to keep the oil price down. He needs to keep the oil price down. I explained it to you yesterday and I explained it to you again today. The reason why Trump needs to keep the oil price down is because if the oil price goes up today, and that upward oil price starts to seep into the market, the problem is that it takes inflation up. But inflation doesn't go up immediately. Inflation goes up in 2 or 3 months. Now, you look at where we are today. We're in March. So inflation goes up April, May, in May. The reading for May only comes out in June. In June, you have a big inflation reading, which means the Fed doesn't reduce interest rates in their June and July Fed meetings. So let's actually look at when the meetings actually are, so we can actually play this and see. So here's the Fed. So you have the Fed meeting. Remember, you're going to have a new Fed president. Trump's appointed Fed president here. June, they don't reduce interest rates. Why? Because inflation rates are high. Why is inflation high? Well, because oil prices spiked and then the cost of manufacturing, the cost of transporting goods went very high. The next meeting is in September. And in September, the problem is that the inflation is still there, which means that the first time that we could maybe get an interest rate cut, which, by the way, I would imagine, the market's forecasting the first interest rate cut in July. Now, I would imagine that it would only come around October, given the fact that you've got this war. What does that mean? Well, it means that Trump goes into a midterm election with high inflation and high interest rates. And you don't want to be going into a midterm election with high inflation and high interest rates. That's not how you want to enter a midterm period. So right now, Trump's telling us that everything's going to be okay. He's saying the military attack is going to be over soon. I mean, and you can see he's controlling the oil price. He says they're crushing the enemy. You can listen to the
enemy in an overwhelming display of technical skill and military force. Iran's drone and missile capability is being utterly demolished. The Navy is gone. It's all lying at the bottom of the ocean. 46 ships. Can you believe it? In fact, I got a little upset with our people. I said, what quality of ship? Excellent, sir. Top of the line. I said, why did we just capture the ship? We could have used it. Why did we sink them? They said, it's more fun to sink them. I said, that's
so, I mean, Trump's trying to convince us that everything is okay. And that this is a short-term excursion. Just have a listen to this.
Stronger, and our country is doing really well. I mean, at a level that nobody thought. We took a little excursion because we felt we had to do that to get rid of some evil.
Short-term, little excursion. It's going to be a short-term excursion. We've won in so many ways.
They were separate, but everybody said the same thing. Make sure you win. We will. We've already won in many ways, but we haven't won enough.
We haven't won enough. So he's telling you everything's fine and they haven't won enough. He's also trying to convince the world, rightly or wrongly, that Iran had actually planned an all-out attack on assets in the Middle East. And if they hadn't attacked when they attacked, then Iran would have actually attacked first. Now, again, I don't know what to believe. We don't know what to believe. We'll never know what to believe because wars are all about narratives. Narratives are fought in the headlines, and what's actually going on never, ever, ever hits the airwaves as clearly and as linearly. Now, also, Trump was actually asked yesterday. Now, you got to listen to this question, okay? Listen to the question.
Yeah, please.
Thank you. Mr. President, you've said the war is, quote, very complete, but your defense secretary says this is just the beginning. So which is it, and how long should Americans be prepared
Well, I think you could say it both.
For?
It's the beginning of building a new country, but they have no Navy, they have no Air Force, they have no anti-aircraft
So
equipment.
he was actually called out by reporters yesterday saying, look, you're telling us that this is nearly the end of the war. Your Secretary of Defense is telling us that the war can carry on forever. Which actually is it? So that's basically the Trump narrative. The Trump narrative is that everything is going okay. But at the same time, Trump is unsanctioning Russian oil. Why would you unsanction Russian oil if everything was going okay? Russia is your enemy in inverted commas. Why would you unsanction Russian oil? And the truth is that what they're doing is they're just trying to keep the oil price down. And why they're trying to keep the oil price down, Trump is reportedly considering the midterm election implications of a higher oil price. And so I think Trump is between a rock and a hard place here. At the same time, the Iranians are saying, look, we're the ones who'll determine when the war is over. In an interview, and again, this is all bullshit, because the truth is, both sides are posturing. You can't understand, and you'll never know from reading Twitter and from watching the news what's actually going on in the war. You have to follow the money. But what is Iran saying?
New supreme leader. What does that mean for your military effort and the confrontation with the United States and Israel?
That means the system is quite functioning.
So the United States says it's drastically degraded the Iranian military, the capabilities as far as missiles is concerned, drones is concerned. How much longer can you do this?
That is one of the false narratives that the United States government is producing. Iranian military is quite strong, as you see, because they have the motivation, they have the arms that they need, which are produced in Iran. As a matter of fact, we are not dependent on any other country for weapons and arms.
So that's that's effectively what the Iranians are saying. They're saying, look, we can make our ammunition. We're not in anything. They're saying we control which ships pass through the Strait of Hormuz and which train don't. They're saying Iran rejects a ceasefire. So they were talking about a ceasefire, but Iran seemed to have rejected the ceasefire. So there's a lot of narratives going on. Long story short, they're saying that they're not even going to negotiate with the United States. So why am I showing you this? Because what I'm trying to show you is that what you see in the media and what you read in the media is dependent on your algorithm, and ultimately the only things that can tell you the truth about what's going on is if you look at the charts and you look at the collective. And right now, when I look at the charts, I'm looking at two things. I'm looking at the poly markets, because that's as good as the charts. The highest, the biggest bet, or the biggest probability, 53%, is that the war will be over by April 30th, 64% by May, and 70% by June. Poly market is telling you this is going to be quite a long war. This is going to be quite a long war. The oil price is telling you that we're above the oil war line and that this is going to be quite a long war. And when this thing comes close back to the oil line, that'll tell me that Iran doesn't have control of the Strait of Hormuz, that the US has real control of the Strait of Hormuz, because the people that are trading this oil are people that have much better intel than we actually have. Now, the one good thing about this war is how Bitcoin has held up in this war. It has been the best performing $1 trillion plus asset in this war. So you can basically look at how Bitcoin's performed. Since the beginning of the war, it's up 11.4%, ETH's up 11%. And if you look at the QQQ, up 1.74%. Interestingly, if you look at the IGV, now remember, IGV is this software ETF that Bitcoin has been tracking, which is like, no one really understands why. In fact, we do not understand why. It's because they put Bitcoin in the same risk bucket as this, which is, I mean, come on. Anyway, that IGV has recovered as well during the war. And so right now, Bitcoin's doing very, very well as it comes there. In fact, when you look at Peter Brandt, and Peter Brandt is, in my opinion, one of the best chartists out there, he's talking about a big banana forming on Bitcoin, which takes it up. Actually, he's talking about going up to $250,000 on Bitcoin by 2029. So he's saying that there's a big banana forming. The big banana is forming a little banana, and indicates that there is about to be a banana split. So maybe, yeah, this is basically, he's talking about Bitcoin actually going up. And history shows that when conflicts end, and specifically also Middle East conflicts, when conflicts end, Bitcoin actually tends to perform well, right? So you can see here, this was 2025, the last time Israel attacked Iran. He said, congratulations to everyone, has been fully agreed between Israel and Iran that there'll be a ceasefire. And then what happened? Bitcoin actually went on a tear, went up 16% in a whole 16% in 20 days. So history shows us that when these conflicts are finished, Bitcoin actually does well. Okay, now I must caution you about that. Even though that is true, that is also true at a time when Bitcoin was correlated to the S&P. The problem is that Bitcoin is no longer correlated to the S&P. Since October 10th, we had a correction and we're no longer correlated to the S&P, which kind of means that when you look at this data, you kind of say to yourself, great, Bitcoin does recover after war, but also risk recovers after war. But I'll show you the counter to that in 1 second. Also, every time that the VIX spikes, you should buy stocks. Okay, it's a fact. Every time that the VIX spikes, you should be buying stocks. You can see it here, 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 here. Every time the VIX spikes, great time to actually buy stocks. The VIX is a volatility index. It shows you how scared traditional markets are. Every time traditional markets spike, it's a good time to buy stocks. And it also has been a good time to buy Bitcoin. The only problem is that was in a time where Bitcoin was correlated to the S&P. Bitcoin is not correlated to the S&P anymore. And so that's the one thing that I actually caution you about. The one other thing which I think is really worth talking about is that in a period of conflict, in a period of high uncertainty, you see people moving into safe havens, right? And what are the safe havens? The first safe haven is obviously gold, but the other safe haven is obviously the dollar, right? So when things go bad across the world, what people do is they actually go to the dollar because the dollar represents safety. It represents the world's reserve currency. And so you get the 𝗕𝗧𝗖𝗖 strengthening when that happens. Now, I want to show you a little bit of a chart. Well, firstly, we can look at the headline. The headline says Bitcoin's 12-year relationship with the dollar actually just broke. Now, why? Because now what you've got is you've got the dollar strengthening and you've got Bitcoin strengthening. So let me show you the 𝗕𝗧𝗖 chart since the war started. That's the 𝗕𝗧𝗖 chart since the war started. War started over here. You see the 𝗕𝗧𝗖 chart actually went up. And at the same time, Bitcoin actually went up. Now, why is that such an interesting data point? It's an interesting data point because during the past 6 months, we've been negatively correlated with the dollar, which is what you expect. You expect the dollar to go up, Bitcoin to go down. Now, when people are running to safe havens in the time of war, Bitcoin's actually performing well. So those are the arguments for why this run or why this rally can continue. And again, just to reiterate, Bitcoin has a good history with Middle Eastern wars and resolution of Middle Eastern wars. We've got this new correlation with the dollar, which is a very good thing. Then we also have the Clarity Act, and again, there's another deadline. The deadline now is Clarity Act faces a critical April deadline, April 3rd deadline to get resolved. Now, if the Clarity Act doesn't get resolved by end of April, then I suspect that the probabilities of the Clarity Act actually being signed into law are going to go down a lot. And the problem with that is that if the Democrats win the House or the Senate or the House and the Senate, the problem is that we'll never, ever, ever see a Clarity Act, right? Because they will use this as a weapon against Trump. So we need this Clarity Act to be passed. If we want it to be passed before summer recess, it needs to go into the House by this April, by the April deadline. And only once we get the Clarity Act will we actually get real money flowing into crypto. That's as per the CFTC chair says, banks need digital asset market Clarity Act more than crypto. Without regulatory certainty, they won't build the digital payment rails. And he's right. So that is the scenario here. Now, what Trump is saying, look, I'm not signing any bills into effect until we signed this Save America Act. Now, what is the Save America Act? It's the Voter ID Act. So ChatGPT said the Save America Act is a proposed U.S. federal law about voting rules in the United States. It mainly focuses on tightening voter registration. The core idea that you'd have to prove that you're a U.S. citizen, you'd have to have a voter registration ID. So Trump's saying, look, I'm not signing anything, not the Clarity Act, not any act, until we do the Save America Act. So let's wait for this April 3rd deadline. For now, 70% chance, 69% chance, it keeps hovering for 72% chance earlier that the Clarity Act actually gets approved. Either way, regardless, Bitcoin, the best performing asset or $1 trillion plus asset since the beginning of the war. What is my counter argument to this? Is that all of this is bullshit. And actually what really matters is that the sellers are exhausted. They've had so many opportunities to sell. They've had panic selling opportunities. They've had liquidations. And the truth is that anyone who wanted to sell has sold, and the sellers are now exhausted. And now that we are trying to find the news and the data to back the fact, to back basically the narrative. Now let's turn to the flip side, because it's important to actually show you the flip side, because the flip side is also a very compelling case. And the flip side is that this rally actually won't last. Okay, so what are the data points for the rally not lasting? So the main data point, and that's the Ben Cowan data point, or the Ben Cowan playbook, it says, it feels like we live in a simulation, same playbook as 2022. Bitcoin sells off during the start of a new conflict, finds a low in February, and then bounces into March. He's talking about this conflict over here, which is the Russia-Ukraine conflict. And if you look at what happened in the Russia-Ukraine conflict, bounces up into the beginning of March, initial recovery, and starts to go down. Okay. And that's quite worrying, because he's comparing it to exactly what happened here. He says, February, there was a massive escalation. People went into Bitcoin. And then as the escalation carried on, so the price of Bitcoin actually went down. And he's saying, look, we actually live in a simulation because it's exactly the same. Now, if you look at the Bitcoin year-to-date return, and I'll show you a simpler version of that, which is this version over here. The problem is that it is following exactly the normal. We are the red line over now, and this is following the same. And every post-halving year, you see we get this spike, and we're kind of having this spike right now. So if we follow this data, then we actually land up going back down. Also, I mean, if you look at things like the 3-day death cross, that's just crossed, and that usually implies that we're going to go down. If you overlay the 2022 fractal when Russia actually invaded Ukraine, and you put that, then you can see basically what's happening here. And if you look at the Fibonacci's, Bitcoin's basically respecting the Fibonacci. So there's cases for and there's cases against. Right now, we'll take the pump because that's pretty much what we got. I see we're back above 70,000 as you can see in the top corner of the screen. And let's hope that this pump actually continues. We want the volatility index to drop, and we want the oil price to basically go we want the oil price to basically go below this war line again, and then basically everything's safe. So that's the update. That's the update for today. Again, I mean, we can speculate on a whole lot of things, and we don't know anything. When you look at war headlines, the war headlines are propaganda headlines. They fought in the press. You're dealing with an enemy that doesn't have as much access to press as the Western alliance that's actually striking them. And so the problem is that you're flying in the dark here unless you're looking at exactly where the capital is. Cool. I did promise you guys that I would select a winner on cast today, and I would give that winner a gold cast card. Now, for those of you who don't know what cast is, on cast today, cast is a crypto card. You link it to a crypto account, and then you basically spend. But when you spend, you get 4, 5, 6, 7% cash back for actually spending. Now, I'm going to postpone this for tomorrow. The reason is a lot of people are on the wrong time zone, so they're complaining that they didn't get you in time, etc. You've got until tomorrow. You've got to sign up using this link over here. Sign up using the link over here. Tomorrow we'll give away a gold card. These cards I don't know what they're worth, probably $5,000 or $10,000. And I can tell you, they are solid gold. Okay, these things are solid gold, just so you know. Sunny says, good luck, people. Sunny, when are we meeting, bro? The people said we set up a meeting. I hope we're actually meeting soon. Sunny's a fellow South African. Otherwise, I see here that BTCC have actually given you that, is the BTCC 10% back. This is like the biggest arb in crypto, basically. You deposit money on an exchange, then they give you a trading bonus of 10%. So you trade on that trading bonus, and then afterwards you can withdraw your money. That you can do on BTCC. There's a link below. You can do that. Otherwise, I shall see you guys again tomorrow. I'm making a very cool video on Crypto Insider, and hopefully it'll be ready tomorrow. It's a video about how Brad Garlinghouse and Brian Armstrong are actually the ones fighting this Clarity Act war. Brad Garlinghouse wants it approved, Brian Armstrong doesn't, and I'm going to dig into the reasons why. So, see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.